Knull is the ancient god you've probably never heard of, but definitely should have. Long before there was light, life, or even a universe, Knull was happily reigning over the endless darkness known as the Abyss. He's the creator of all symbiotes and the Necrosword, aka the All-Black. The eldritch god-like super being is set to appear in the final movie of the Venom Trilogy, titled The Last Dance, which begs the question, would Eddie and Venom succeed in eliminating this Thanos-level threat? If yes, how would the anti-hero duo do it in the movie? And that's exactly what we're going to discuss in this video. But to get a fair and comprehensive perspective, I would first explore a bit of Knull's backstory, his powers, abilities, and the wild things he's done. Oh, and I'll also discuss the one time he was defeated in the comics. So without further ado, let's begin. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Destructive power. Their epic battle shook them.
Who is Knull, the god behind the symbiote empire? Now, Knull ruled over the Abyss, and you can imagine his surprise and frustration when the Celestials showed up uninvited and kinda turned on the universe's light switch to create all kinds of things. Knull felt like the owner of a house that gets trespassed. I don't blame him for getting all pissed off. So, feeling more than a little infringed upon, Knull decided to push back. He forged a mighty weapon from his own shadow, a sword called the All-Black Necrosword. So, before the existence of light, the Abyss did not have any shadow. Now that light was there, shadow followed, and Knull used it to the best of his abilities. With this fancy new blade, he did the unthinkable. He chopped off the head of a Celestial. Yes, he beheaded one of the cosmic beings responsible for creating the universe in one clean sweep. Naturally, this didn't go over well at the Celestial Council meetings. In retaliation, the Celestials banished Knull back into the Abyss. Actually, they first wanted him to serve as a king in black to look over the universe, but joke's on the Celestials. Darkness is kind of his thing. Making the best of exile, Knull moved into the severed head of the Celestial he had defeated. Using the divine energy from the head, he began creating the first symbiotes, a process that started with the sword itself. These early symbiotes were powerful, but had their quirks. They were terrified of intense heat and loud noises. Sound familiar? But why? You see, Knull used the forge in the Celestial's head and also a Celestial hammer to improve the Necrosword, which is why the first of Knull's creations fear fire and sound. These weaknesses were passed down through the symbiote's genetic memory. Now, this is kinda huge because it explains a lot of things. Knull sent his symbiote creations out into the universe to continue his vendetta against light and life. However, things didn't go exactly as planned. The symbiotes started bonding with hosts, who had stupid little notions like nobility and justice. Before you know it, they were catching feelings and turning against their creator. Knull saw this as a betrayal, referring to these new emotions as their poison or venom, and of course, not in a loving, fatherly way. Once his creations got all against him, thousands upon thousands of them came together to cage Knull within them, and this mass of symbiotes would become Clintar, Knull's prison. Never one to admit defeat, Knull sought ways to free himself from Clintar, which acted both as his prison and throne. In the more recent Marvel escapades, Knull has made his dramatic entrance onto Earth, wreaking havoc on everyone from the Avengers to the X-Men. Knull was shaping up to be the next cosmic level threat. Think Thanos, but with more goo and a grudge against light bulbs. I'll talk about this more when I discuss Venom's odds of a win against his creator. Knull's powers and abilities. If there were a contest for the most overpowered villain, Knull would definitely be a top contender. With abilities that make most superheroes look like they're playing in the kiddie pool, Knull's powers are virtually limitless. For starters, his superhuman strength is off the charts. He can casually slice through a Celestial, a cosmic entity of immense power, with a single swing of his infamous weapon, the All-Black Necrosword. This isn't just any sword. Knull forged it from his own shadow to slay gods. Knull has mastery over the living abyss, allowing him to manipulate pure darkness and create life from it. Yes, he literally crafts intelligent beings out of nothing but shadows. His control over dark energy is nothing to scoff at either. He can fire off energy blasts potent enough to knock the Silver Surfer off his board. Plus, he can emit red energy from his hands, just in case you thought his monochromatic theme was getting dull. Immortality? Check. Knull has been lurking around for approximately 13.7 billion years. He doesn't need food, sleep, or companionship, just an endless void, and maybe a pet symbiote dragon. He once fell from space, and took a few centuries to recover, which for him is probably like taking a power nap. Speaking of looks, Knull is fashion forward. After discovering the symbiote Imperium, he upgraded his ensemble. Now he can shapeshift his armor to include a cape, stylish waistcloth, sleek wing-like fins, and a draconic helmet that says, "I mean business." His armor, made from the same living abyss as his symbiotes, is incredibly durable. It survived a plunge through the planet's atmosphere and a dip in plasma without even a scratch. Extreme temperatures and sonics might ruffle his feathers, but they won't ruin his day. Knull's shapeshifting abilities add to his terrifying aura. He can transform his mouth into a nightmare of razor-sharp teeth and a serpent-like tongue, a feature his symbiote offspring inherited. When he's really ticked off, his entire face morphs into something you'd expect to see in your worst nightmares. He's also got some wild feats under his belt. Knull has overpowered Thor, taken blows from Celestials, and walked away from a fight with Ego, the living planet, like it was just another Tuesday. He caught up to the Silver Surfer across light years in mere seconds, and restrained Doctor Strange without breaking a sweat. Even Ghost Rider had trouble handling just one of Knull's symbiote dragons. So yeah, this guy's pretty powerful.
We are Venom.
How does Venom stack up against his creator? Well, I think every one of us here knows about the things that Venom can do and the kind of skills and abilities the symbiote has. So let me talk about the other aspects of Venom and Eddie Brock, and how their individuality and personalities play out against Knull. Venom might not win any awards for being well-adjusted, but he's got some redeeming qualities that make him more than just a guy with sharp teeth and a temper. Despite a past filled with lies and a desperate need for approval, thanks unappreciative dad, Eddie genuinely tries to better himself. His guilt over a tragic accident in his youth, where he accidentally caused a child's death, fuels his obsession with protecting the innocent. It's a heavy burden, but it pushes him toward heroism, even if his methods are a bit unorthodox. Raised Catholic, Eddie's moral compass, while occasionally spinning wildly, often points him toward doing the right thing. As Anti-Venom, he believed he was chosen to cleanse the world of evil symbiotes, showing his desire to make amends and find purpose. He has a soft spot for acting as a protector, especially to young women like Beck Underwood, Jenna Cole, and Jubilee Van Scotter. They serve as his moral anchors, keeping him grounded when his darker impulses surface. Eddie's relationship with the symbiotes is complicated, to say the least, a classic love-hate scenario. He fears being alone and is somewhat addicted to the power they provide, but he also recognizes the need to control their more violent tendencies. Instead of letting the symbiote drive him to vengeance, he strives to channel his abilities for good. His efforts to rehabilitate the Venom symbiote and help it recover from corruption highlight his commitment to positive change. Over time, Eddie's attitude towards Spider-Man evolved, from obsessive hatred to begrudging respect. He even teamed up with Spidey to tackle bigger threats, proving he can put aside personal grudges for the greater good. His respect extends to others like Flash Thompson. Eddie attended Flash's funeral and admitted he was a worthy Venom successor, a big compliment from a guy who doesn't dish them out lightly. Even when faced with personal demons and the manipulations of cosmic beings, Eddie fights to maintain his humanity. His journey is one of redemption, battling not just external foes, but his own darker nature. Sure, he might still bite off a limb now and then, but nobody's perfect. In the grand scheme, Eddie Brock's relentless pursuit of a better path showcases the positive aspects of a character who's more hero than monster. Has Knull been defeated in the comics? If yes, how? Knull, the ancient god of darkness, wasn't satisfied with lounging in the shadows. Armed with his infamous sword, the All-Black, also known as the Necrosword or Godslayer, he began a mission to eliminate all beings of light. He even crafted a suit of armor from the same inky darkness, completing his ensemble as the universe's most formidable fashion statement. During one of his divine massacres, a golden-armored god managed to stab Knull in the face. Unfazed, Knull retaliated by piercing the god's heart. The aftermath hurled him onto a desolate planet, home to Gore, who would later earn the nickname God Butcher. Upon awakening, Knull discovered his prized sword was missing. Turns out, Gore had snatched it and was unknowingly continuing Knull's god-slaying day job. Stranded without his weapon, Knull spent the next century plotting his comeback. He realized he could bond with the planet's inhabitants by infusing them with his essence to create a symbiotic relationship, hence the name symbiote. This allowed him to control these creatures across galaxies through a hive mind. Transforming them into ferocious monsters, he drew strength from them as he amassed an army of symbiotes. Not stopping there, he also conjured a fleet of symbiote dragons to conquer countless worlds and topple civilizations. Knull had officially leveled up to intergalactic overlord status. His disdain for cosmic light naturally drew him to Earth, which was practically glowing. In 6th century Scandinavia, he took control of a symbiote dragon that terrified locals called Grendel. Knull's rampage didn't go unnoticed. A young Thor intervened and struck Grendel with divine lightning. This was a shocker for Knull, literally. Thor's attack severed his connection to the symbiote minions, which ultimately dismantled his hive mind. Grendel fragmented into numerous offshoot symbiotes, now free from Knull's grasp. The liberated symbiotes, lacking purpose without a host, bonded with noble beings, and started embracing concepts like justice and peace, much to Knull's chagrin. Feeling betrayed, they united against him, trapping him on Clintar. In 1966, the Grendel symbiote was discovered by S.H.I.E.L.D. They, in their infinite wisdom, decided to create super soldiers under the Sim Soldier program. Despite his severed connection, Knull could still chat with Grendel. Seizing the opportunity, he began manipulating these offshoots, turning their hosts into violent maniacs. Eventually, Knull managed to free the symbiote dragon, which absorbed all but one of its fragments. The dragon made a beeline for Manhattan to unleash chaos. However, Earth's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and his not-so-friendly ally Venom teamed up to stop the rampage. By now, Knull's connection with the Grendel dragon was cut once again. After Venom and Spider-Man took down Knull's giant Grendel symbiote dragon, you might think things would calm down. Nope. A cult called the Church of New Darkness snagged a piece of Grendel's symbiote and thought, hey, let's resurrect serial killer Cletus Cassidy and turn him into Knull's avatar. What could possibly go wrong? When the symbiote bonded with Cassidy, Knull, our ancient god of all things without light, gave him a ring. Now back as Carnage, Cassidy went on a murderous rampage and discovered he could power up by collecting codices, bits of symbiote data left in former hosts. Knull didn't stop there. He recruited a bunch of maniacs, including Norman Osborn. Eddie Brock caught wind of Carnage's return. With help from Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic himself, Eddie started gathering codices too. During a showdown with Carnage, Eddie faced a tough choice: prevent Knull's release or save his son Dylan. Being a dad, he chose Dylan, inadvertently freeing Knull while taking down Carnage. Oh, and Dylan was born with the DNA of both Eddie and Venom, which made him kinda special. Next, Knull set his GPS for Earth, the place that had imprisoned him and messed with his symbiote control. Later, Eddie went to the Avengers, warning them about Knull, kind of like how Bruce Banner warned them about Thanos. Thor, having already tussled with one of Knull's minions, knew they were in deep trouble. When Knull arrived, he didn't come alone. His hordes and dragons quickly overwhelmed Earth's heroes. He announced he'd destroy Earth unless they handed over Brock. His minions took control of the X-Men, Avengers, you name it. Hence, you should know about a little something called the Enigma Force. The Enigma Force, kind of along the same lines as the Phoenix Force, is a cosmic god of light that came into existence as the universe's countermeasure against Knull. You could think of it as the universe's way of saying, let there be light, and a really cool superhero. For billions of years, the God of Light battled Knull, but realized that spreading its powers among many hosts wasn't cutting it, so it decided to go exclusive and bond with a single champion, creating the legendary Captain Universe. Now, when Knull invaded Earth, the Enigma Force struggled to get through. Enter the Silver Surfer, who senses its presence and gives it a cosmic boost past the barrier. Realizing he's not the chosen one this time, the Surfer lets the Enigma Force zip off to find its perfect match, Eddie Brock. As the heroes gear up for a final battle with Knull, Eddie arrives supercharged with the Enigma Force. He grabs Thor's hammer Mjolnir and the Silver Surfer's board and combines them into an epic battle axe. Because why not? In the duel, Eddie dismantles Knull's fancy sword All Black and strips him of his symbiote armor. Eddie hauls Knull into the sun and uses the Unipower to vaporize him. Back on Earth, he cleanses his son Dylan of any leftover symbiote traces. With the day saved, the Enigma Force bids Eddie adieu, telling him he's now more than just an ordinary human. Eddie had become the new god of the symbiotes.
What's his name then? No.
Can Venom defeat the King of Symbiotes in the final Venom movie? So, Venom squaring off against Knull is like pitting a street-smart vigilante against the cosmic deity. Not exactly a fair fight, but don't count Eddie Brock and his gooey pal out just yet. Knull's appearance in The Last Dance raises the stakes for our anti-hero duo. The key to defeating Knull might lie in something Venom mentions. We have something he needs. This could refer to the symbiote codices, tiny remnants of symbiote DNA left in former hosts. If Venom and Eddie could use the codices wisely, they might just have a shot, which is similar to what happened in the comics. One strategy is to make Knull's quest for the codices as frustrating as finding a needle in a haystack, spreading them out, perhaps through Venom's various bonds with different hosts or animals. Knull's attempts to reclaim them could be significantly hindered. It's hard to conquer the first universe when you're on an endless scavenger hunt. Another angle is the influence Venom has on the symbiote hive mind. In the comics, symbiotes bonded with noble hosts begin to adopt pesky traits like compassion and honor. which seriously cramped Knull's style. If Eddie and Venom can inspire other symbiotes to embrace their inner good guy, they could weaken Knull's control. Think of it as a cosmic rebellion led by a guy who used to eat people. Their unique bond might be the secret weapon. Over the movies, we've seen Eddie and Venom evolve from the uneasy roommates to a weird but effective team. This relationship could be the catalyst that convinces other symbiotes to turn against their grumpy creator. After all, if an alien paradise and a disgraced journalist can make it work, there's hope for everyone. Defeating Knull might not mean punching him into the sun, though that would be cool. Instead, it could involve uniting the symbiotes against him, leveraging their numbers to outmaneuver the Dark God. This approach ties the trilogy together and pretty much highlights the growth of Eddie and Venom's partnership and their impact on the wider symbiote community. Even if it requires sacrifice, like separating or risking their lives, the duo's actions could free countless beings from Knull's tyranny. It's a classic tale. The underdogs rally the masses to topple an oppressive overlord. So, could Venom defeat Knull? With some clever thinking, a dash of empathy, and maybe a few wisecracks along the way, it's possible. After all, in the world of superheroes, even the most unlikely heroes can take down gods. Having said that, I don't think Knull will get totally annihilated in Venom 3. I think this time around, he would be imprisoned by his own brood, which would give Venom a sense of victory and end the trilogy in a desirable fashion. However, he would eventually escape from his prison and appear once again in Spider-Man 4, where Tom Holland's Spider-Man is set to wear a black suit. Won't that be awesome? If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!